Welcome back to another episode of the Flying Upstream podcast. We're so excited to have you here with us as we dive deep into another incredible story of transformation. I am Luisa, and I'm here with my amazing co host, Kristen.
Hi, everyone. Today we're talking to Caroline West, a 49-year-old artist based in the south of England. She's living with her husband and their rescue dogs. And after experiencing burnout, she made the bold decision to leave her 18-year career in childcare. Now she's pursuing her passion for art, focusing on sustainability by repurposing everyday objects into meaningful pieces. Caroline's unique work, including British landmarks painted on Yorkshire tea bags, interesting, has got the attention of the media. Caroline, welcome to the show.
Hi, thank you so much for having me on as a guest.
Wonderful. Caroline, you have made a huge shift from a stable career in childcare to becoming a full time artist. Was there a defining moment for you that made you realize that you just needed to make this change?
Yeah, I think it had been building for a while. I was in a job that just wasn't really suited to me. I ended up being a manager just through kind of a default thing. So you just keep going. I think like you do, you sort of end up somewhere and you just keep going at it and sort of thinking, this is just what it is. But yeah, I think my defining moment, I was just in the shower morning sobbing and I just thought, something's got to change. This is not any kind of way to live your life.
Yeah, for sure. I think most people would stay in a job that provides financial security, but you chose to give it all up to follow your passion. How would you respond to critics who might say that it's irresponsible to leave a career after 18 years for an uncertain future?
It definitely was something that I thought long and hard about. I mean, I am in a position where my husband works, so we did sort of have another income coming in. My children are all a lot older now, so I think it would be a lot harder if I still had really young children. I think when you've got that responsibility as well, it's obviously a lot harder choice. But, sometimes I just think I got to the point where it was making me ill. And then if I get too ill to work, then I'm in the same position anyway. So, I mean, first of all, I left, but I did take a small part-time job in a local supermarket just so I still had a regular income. So I've done that for a couple of years. And then about 3 weeks ago, I've kind of cut that safety net and I've left that to do art full time.
I love that. I love that because it signifies that we have the ability to have both, and that's beautiful. You don't have to give up your passion just because of the practical things in life. Thanks for sharing that. You have built art is your art is all about repurposing discarded objects, which is
Yeah.
a bold statement on both a creative side and a sustainability aspect as well. Do you ever struggle with the pressure of needing to justify your choice of sustainability as both a creative and ethical decision, especially in an industry where that often values mass production?
Yeah, I think we're such a throwaway society, and obviously, I've been really lucky. I've had lots of support, both sort of with friends and family, and on the internet, sort of on social media. I think people are just really fascinated by the idea of taking something that you would usually throw away or would decay, and just repurposing it and turning it into something else. So, to be honest, all the response I've had is positive. But I suppose for those people out there who maybe don't understand it, I just think I'm not out to change the whole world. I just want to make my little corner of it a beautiful place in line with my own authentic beliefs. So I think if everyone just lives sort of their lives in that way, then I do believe that we can make massive change just sort of by each looking after our own little bit of the world.
Yeah, I would love to hear more about your journey of self-discovery because I imagine in all this you had to face some real fears and discover who you truly are. I'm curious to know what was the hardest part of that self-discovery? Was it really about following your dreams or letting go of who you thought you should be?
I think most definitely letting go of who I thought I should be. I did see it. I saw a counsellor for about a year because I think there was a moment when she said to me, "What are your core values?" And I was just so disconnected and far from myself that I just couldn't answer. I had absolutely no idea. I think particularly as a woman, you spend most of your life sort of doing everything for everyone else as a wife, as a mother, as a daughter, a friend, a manager, a colleague. You're just so busy. I mean, all those are wonderful things, but I just think you tend to lose yourself in the process. And I just lost sort of who I was and what I wanted. And I'd spent most of my life just being an innate people pleaser, just sort of doing everything to please everyone else, that I just didn't even know what I wanted anymore. And to even think about putting myself first felt incredibly selfish.
Yeah, I totally agree. That's something that we struggle with, I think, in society, especially, like you said, as women, because we're kind of conditioned to be something else, to be everything for everyone else. But I often share about the power of self love, the power
Yes.
of what happens when we learn to put ourselves first, when we learn to love ourselves, and when we learn that self love and prioritizing ourselves is not selfish, because that can be very powerful. Um,
Yeah.
can you share with us, like, so you had that morning, you shared you had that morning where you're in the shower and you're like, I am literally becoming ill from this, to the moment where you actually made the transition to being like, okay, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. I'm going to spend most of my days and time collecting things and that other people have thrown away as trash and using them for art. What was that transition like? Because I think sometimes it can be hard to envision in a practical manner how that happens.
I think it took a long time. I mean, I took a year. I had been counselling for a year, so I think it took a long time to kind of get to the point to actually leave. Probably I started counselling, I think, in the December. I didn't leave my job until the July, so it took a good 6 or 7 months to get myself to the point where I was actually thinking about what I wanted, what I actually wanted to do with my life. Again, we're so conditioned by society to feel like we should always be productive. We should be on the hamster wheel of like success, pushing and pushing all the time, that sometimes it's so hard to realize you actually need to take that step back and really look at your life, what is important to you, what brings you joy. Because again, along with putting yourself first, what brings you joy, so if you're happy in yourself, then you're giving the best of yourself to everyone else. So I just think if you do think putting yourself first is selfish, but actually putting yourself first is kind of a selfless thing to do in one way, because you're then happy in yourself and giving the best of yourself to others.
Yeah, that's so true. And I think that's something that I wish society would teach us a little bit more. But I'm happy to hear that you've realized that. I think the more people that can get to that place, the better.
Yeah, and for me, success is about happiness. Personally, for me, it's not about like having all this expensive stuff or earning all this money. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's nice to earn money, especially doing something I love. But for me, I feel more successful now, what I'm doing now, because I'm happy and I feel like I'm fulfilling my purpose, and I'm doing something that brings me and other people joy.
Yes. Yes. I mean, you've transformed your own life and now you're inspiring others, especially women, to do the same. But do you think that society, especially for women, is still holding us back from fully embracing these unconventional career changes, even if we want to take the leap?
Yeah, I do think so. I think there's still that conditioning to feel like you should fit into a certain niche or into a certain place. You should be fulfilling certain duties, doing certain things. I still think there is a lot of that out there. And I just think it's really hard to break those years and years of conditioning and how it has been to sort of, and putting yourself out there is scary. You're opening yourself up and making yourself vulnerable. You're opening yourself to criticism, to people who don't understand your choices. And that's tough for anyone, let alone a woman.
What do you think we can do about that as a society? And not just as women, right? The three of us are women here, but outside of ourselves, how can our partners, how can our male counterparts support us so we can help make that shift?
I think it's just about being supportive of others. Everyone's dreams are valid, everyone's wishes and hopes are valid. And I think it's just about being supportive and building people up rather than tearing them down. I mean, I'm really lucky. I've got a really supportive network, but I think it's about surrounding yourself with those people who bring you up and support you and, who are going to sort of lift you and help you along your journey.
Yeah, I love what you're saying. What role do you think community plays in all of this? Like, obviously, there are a lot of people that do things on their own, but a lot of people don't. What's been your experience with that support?
I say I've had a lot of support, friends, family, and community on the internet as well. I think it's about finding your tribe, finding those people who maybe do the things you do. I mean, I've joined groups of sort of sustainability groups, other artists. It's just about finding those people who you connect with and who support and who love your dream and what you're doing, because then you're going to build yourself a supportive network of people. And it's about contacts, connections, and community. I do a lot of quite a few projects for sort of charity for raising money as well, and I think that's an important part of it. The more you can get out there in your community and help others through whatever you do, I just think, you know, we can all support and help each other a lot more.
I have a little bit of a different question here.
Yeah.
What does it feel like to have found your purpose?
Oh, I don't know. It's just made me feel tearful because it feels amazing. It just feels like I try to regret that I didn't do it before, because there's that part of you like, why didn't I do this like 10, 20 years ago? But I wasn't in the right place that I am now. I do really believe things happen for a purpose at the right time. So this was obviously my time, but it just feels amazing. It just, I wake up in the morning and I just know that I'm doing something that I love, and something that I really believe in, and something that is making a difference to our planet, you know, hopefully bringing joy to people through art, connecting with people through art. It's just, yeah, I can't even say how amazing that feels. I just want everyone to feel like that.
Yeah, I have had a hard time describing it myself. So
Yeah.
I always want to ask people, can somebody
Make
give
me
me
feel
a word
teary.
what that feels like? Yeah.
Yeah, but I feel light and I feel free, I think.
Free. I think I agree with free. Yeah, free.
Yes. Yeah,
Thank you
it
for
feels
sharing
free.
So, Caroline, looking at your art career now, do you think that you could have predicted this success when you were still in your old job? How much of this, yeah, I'm curious to know how much of this journey has been planned and how much of it has been that leap of faith.
I'll be totally honest, I'm a terrible planner. I rarely plan anything. I'm not good with plans. I rebel against plans. So I always have an idea of where I'm going and what I'd like to do. But no, if you told me even a year ago that I'd be doing podcasts. I was on BBC television. I went up to London to a Sunday morning show, and I was on there. That was my first experience of that. It's just, I would never have believed you. And I would never have believed I had the courage to actually put myself out there and do those things. So I just think the more you push yourself outside your comfort zone and do those things that scare you, the more confident you'll be. I mean, it's still scary. I still get nervous before a podcast, before anything, but I just think it's just pushing past that fear, stepping outside your comfort zone, and you just never know what opportunities are going to come from that. And I just think it's one of the most important things you can do.
Yeah, I love that. Now that you have made the transition and you are successfully creating art, do you ever feel like you've sacrificed something in order to pursue this path?
Sleep. Because my mind's too busy at night thinking about things. You know what? It doesn't really feel like I've made any sacrifices. I'm really happy with where I am. Sometimes it's hard, and sometimes it's the uncertainty, because obviously, and like again with society, you're taught that sort of the arts and being an artist is like the whole starving artist thing, and it's not necessarily true, and it is kind of scary sometimes that I haven't got a regular paycheck, but you know, that's just part and parcel of it. Some weeks I might do better, some I might not, but it's just getting used to the fact you don't have to live in a conventional way. You can do things your own way and you can thrive doing it.
Aside from the success that you feel like you have, right, because you do what you love, you live your life in a way that you want to, you live outside of your comfort zone by pursuing things that scare you, do you feel like there is anything that you miss about your old career or your old lifestyle?
Sometimes I miss, because I had some really good friends who I'm still friends with now, but sometimes I miss that sort of daily connection with people, because most of the time I'm in my art room at home painting. I've got dogs for company, which is lovely. So sometimes I miss that, although I am quite an introvert, so in a way it suits me. So there's that aspect of it that I sometimes miss. But other than that, no.
I love that. You know, so many people stay stuck in unfulfilling careers out of fear. What would you say to someone who's paralyzed by that fear of making big change, even though they know their current path isn't right for them?
I would say you don't have to do something. You don't have to do something big. You don't have to leave your job. Although mine wasn't a snap decision, it did take a while. But you can just start off doing small things. Maybe, I mean, I'm just going to use my art for an example. Before I even considered leaving my job, I started doing it as a hobby in my spare time. Then I started sort of selling it at a few places, putting it on the internet. So you can just do small steps. It doesn't have to be something big. If it's too scary for you, you can just start off small and build your confidence up until you feel ready to take a bit of a bigger leap.
That's lovely. Now, I'm not an artist. I very much love art, but I'm not an artist. Can you share a little bit about your art? We know that you take pieces that most people would consider trash and you put them together. Can you share anything that may enlighten someone like me who's just listening and would love a visual?
Yeah, I should have had a couple of pieces to show you, shouldn't I? Yeah, so I paint on things like tea bags. So after I've used those, I dry them out, cut them open, scrape out all the tea, and then I think we're probably one of the only households when my husband asks what I'm doing, I'm like ironing tea bags. Ready for painting. I press and preserve like leaves that I collect, so I press those until they dry, paint on those. So just usual things you would you consider trash or would decay. And I'm mostly a nature artist, so I mostly paint things that are inspired by nature, sort of magical art. I have been painting British landmarks on British tea bags at the moment, which have been really popular. So really anything that kind of that inspires me or sort of makes me excited to paint.
It's beautiful.
That's really, really cool. I love the creativity and um, really just thinking outside the box. And
Yeah, we'll always be walking along and I'll be seeing like a bit of wood someone's discarded or something, take it home with me, repurpose it.
oh, love that. Um, what's one belief or value that you had before you made this career change that you completely abandoned? And how did that shift change the way that you approach life now?
I think the thing that's changed most for me probably is putting boundaries in place, which I struggle with, and as a people pleaser is something you don't do. And not feeling I have to say yes to everything all of the time, and that people are actually okay with being disappointed because they're adults and they can cope with it. And at the end of the day, you are sometimes you're going to upset people, but it's part of life and you can't expect everyone. I mean, I spent most of my life terrified of upsetting anyone or that someone wouldn't like me, but realistically, I don't like everyone in the world. So probably everyone in the world isn't going to like me, and that's okay. That's okay. It's fine. You just find those people that you like, they like you, and that's your people, and that's all right. And that was a long, hard lesson to learn, that you can't please everyone all the time, and that's okay.
I love that. And as we get ready to wrap up this amazing conversation, I have a question about looking back.
Yeah.
When you look back at everything that you've accomplished, where you are today, all the beautiful art that you've created that inspires other people, and all of the risks that you've taken to get you here today, what is one thing that you have learned about yourself that you never expected to discover when you first made the decision to take control of your life?
That I can do those things that I thought I couldn't, that I'm a lot stronger than I thought I was, and that, I can step outside my comfort zone and do things that scare me and survive.
I love that. I love that. Is there anywhere that our listeners can find your art, anywhere we can direct them to go look at the beautiful pieces that you may have available?
Yeah, you can connect with me on social media. I'm on Facebook and Instagram, and I also have a website. It's www.carollouiseart.com. So all my work's on there.
Wonderful. That's great, Caroline. Thank you so much for being here today. Thank you so much for sharing your inspiring journey, for doing what you do, the sustainability that you do, the beautiful art that you put out there for everyone, and for being on here with us today.
Thank you so much. I really enjoyed chatting to you. Thank you.
Yes. Thank you so much, Caroline. And to our listeners, if you're out there and you're feeling inspired, be sure to check out Caroline's art and see how she's using creativity to make a difference.
And if you have enjoyed this episode, share it with someone who needs a little bit of inspiration today. And as always,